They'll blanket you in Wi-Fi and profit off the radiation. Congregation collecting the people for that Satan. I keeps it blazing, cause I can read between the lines. I ain't blind, we unwind what they're really saying. Genetically modify what you're tasting. Don't need that cottage promise, so now you live up in your mom's basement. Redesign time so your mind is always wasted. Programmed to crave the basics. Keep the beta in stasis. Pay the state, kid. You're in debt for being born. Messengers are more than just the price for being warned. Don't be alarmed. Disconnect from their machinations. Stop subscribing to the folly of all nations. Bone breaking ain't the answer, cause they seek the ownership of souls. Spread the seeds and watch them grow. Break the chains of control. Break the chains of control.
Sweet eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful, friends. Tonight on Rogueways, I am excited to get into some of the most intimate details of our excrement. That's right, we are talking poop tonight with a colonics and colon hydrotherapy expert practitioner who has been in the game of healing people's guts and therefore their entire lives of all kinds of ailments for many a decade. And the best part, like any great practitioner and healer, her own journey has been incredibly rich and full of the soul connection that helps us all thrive. She is a professional level dancer, a lifelong pursuer of truth and wellness, a health and wellness light in the dark, and most importantly, a profoundly powerful mother of 5 amazing souls. Valerie Ingalls, welcome to Rogueways, and how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing awesome. It's so great to be on here, Lindsay.
I'm very excited about our conversation we get to have. I was going to say it's going to be a really crappy conversation, isn't it? But it's not going to be a crappy conversation. But before we dive into our conversation, I do want to remind everyone out there the new Audible book is available. So if you like listening, which many of you out there are the listeners of this podcast, more than the viewers even, you may be very interested in this book. It's on Audible. It is professional quality. It is beautifully done. I'm so excited that people get to finally do this. I know the book is like, not everyone wants to hold a book and read it, but you're driving, you're running, you're jogging, whatever you're doing in life, and it's easier to listen sometimes. So go get Sine Curve of Aeons Vitalis. If you have never done Audible, you can get it for free by signing up. And if you are already on Audible, but you're a supporter of mine, if you're a supporter on rockfin.com, if you're a supporter on rogue.locals.com, if you're a supporter on subscribestar.com/Rogueways, or if you want to make a donation on paypal.me/Rogueways, I will happily give you a free code to get it anyways. Even if you've already used up your free credit, you've been on Audible for a while, you can still get this for free by doing one of those things and just letting me know that you would like that code. But Sine Curve of Aeons is available, and I'm so happy about it. Go grab your copy today and start listening. And thank you all for being here. You guys are the best audience in the world. I was just telling Valerie about how amazing this audience is. It's just such a bright group of shiny souls. And so we're excited to be here with all of you today. And if at any point during the conversation you have a question, go ahead and throw it in the chat. We might be able to get to some of those if we don't already answer them just in the conversation. But Valerie, I was going to ask you, of course, the pointless question of the episode. And for you, I was going to ask you, if you were an animal, which animal would you be and why?
Well, I think that I would easily say a dog.
Ooh.
I mean, you're kind of left up to the kind of owner you have, but
True.
Dogs are such pure beings, and they're angels for us humans. So they play a very important role, I think.
I totally agree. They are. They're just like selfless love. Even if they have bad owners often, they're still
Right.
selflessly loving them.
Unconditional love.
Unconditional.
So, yeah.
I saw you posting some pictures of your dogs recently. Remind me what dogs you have.
I have a beautiful pit bull. She's 3 years old. Her name is Brita. And she is just a loving, muscular, gorgeous dog. And she gets up every morning with me at 6:30 and meditates.
That's beautiful.
So, and then a younger pup who's 6 months, and her name is Mika. She's half German Shepherd, half Husky.
How beautiful.
Yeah.
I love the meditating dog. We have an animal whisperer. I know you're the Poo Whisperer. We have an animal whisperer who comes on the show sometimes too. And dogs and animals are just like, they're like in that field already. So when we're meditating, they're like, oh yeah, I do that all the time. I'm with you.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah,
second nature for them.
right.
How cool. I love that answer. I didn't come up with my own answer, but since I was little, I've always really wanted to be a dolphin because I think it'd be so fun to go flying through the water and jump out and do all those flips and things. Never sleeping would be a different thing though. That's one of my favorite parts of life. So maybe I'll be a dolphin that sleeps someday. We'll make that happen. Well, I want to get into the colonics and the hydrotherapy thing, but I want to ask you: were you always interested in poop when you were a child, or is that just totally not even part of your childhood at all?
Well, I wouldn't really put it that way.
Yeah.
Not interested in poop per se, but I'm from Boulder. I grew up in Boulder. If people know, that's kind of a health mecca.
Yeah.
And I was just really interested at a young age in my health. And I was in a mecca of knowledge. So on every end, I grew up with Brigitte Mars, who's now a famous herbologist, and I could go on and on about that. But I got my first colonic when I was 17.
Wow.
And, a young woman, and I was just interested in health, and I got that first colonic, and I was like, wow, the world needs this. This is so important. I was just blown away. And that's kind of the beginning of my colonics journey, but not exactly the beginning of my health journey.
Yeah. Well, that's so interesting. I don't know if I've ever met someone who has had one so young, but I know you've told me that you have performed them on people even younger than 17, but that must have been an early age to experience something very alternative like that. Was that in connection? Because I know you were a dancer at that time too. Is that right? Did you do that like to be a better dancer, or?
It was probably had some connection with that, wanting to be at top health, and but outside of that, I was just interested in health and in a good place for that.
How cool. And did your parents set you up with it, or did you just stumble
Oh
into
no,
it?
no, I'm the
No.
mover and shaker of the family.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I was 12 years old, I came home from school, and my mom said, the East West Cooking Macrobiotic Cooking Center down the street, they need someone to watch their kids while they're teaching cooking classes. And so I loved kids, and I went down, but lo and behold, Rebecca Wood, she's now quite famous in the field of healthy eating. She ended up at 12 teaching me macrobiotic cooking.
Wow.
And so
What
I
is
brought that home to my family, actually.
How cool. I don't even know what macrobiotic cooking is.
My macrobiotics originates from Japan. It's kind of the yin and the yang. They use a lot of grains, a lot of miso, fermented things.
Ah.
So, and it's still the basis. It's the basis of how I counsel my clients in cooking.
Oh, wow.
Although now I know a lot of other, healthy genres of cooking.
Yeah, more than
And
one way to slice an egg, or however they say that phrase
right,
that I
right.
just
Or,
stuff.
there's veganism and there's raw foods, and
Yeah.
so I have more knowledge on that. But macrobiotics was actually my first start, and at the age of 12 actually, and I started assisting Rebecca in her cooking classes.
Oh wow. That is so cool.
She was my first mentor.
So you really were just steeped in all of these things. And so someone there invited you or told you about colon hydrotherapy and you gave it a go?
I don't actually remember.
Huh.
That is something I don't remember. I just remember getting my first colonic, and yeah, just really thinking it was amazing.
That is so cool. It took me a lot longer than you to find my first colonic. I think I was 30 when I first did it. And even then, it was, for me at least, it was a little terrifying. I mean, terrifying isn't the right word, but it was like I was still, even though I had done like raw food and I had done all these alternative therapies, I had done acupuncture, and I was a little bit less sort of just mainstream Western health mindset. But even then, it was like so far outside of my comfort zone. So that's a lot. It seems brave for a 17-year-old to go do that. I'm proud of you. Well, I know. So I wanted to hear more about the dancing though, because I know you were a dancer first. And that this is still like such a important part of your life. So when did you start dancing, and what types of dancing did you do?
Well, like, most little girls, I started dancing when I was 6. So ballet mainly. And my mom was just really wonderful to introduce me to so many things, and dancing was one of them. I didn't really get serious until I was about 11 and 12. So I was kind of, played hooky, and I had a very British ballet master from London, and she used to call me a sack of potatoes. Valerie, you're a sack of potatoes. And but then lo and behold, I just had this epiphany. I woke up one morning and I thought, and I don't know what happened. The light went on. I thought, I want to get really serious about ballet. And overnight, I just came from a sack of potatoes, and there in the studio 7 days a week. Ended up going to school half a day. Um, was in the Boulder Ballet Company at its beginning, and one day Mrs. Demery came up to me and said, "You, you're a professional dancer now."
From a sack of potatoes to a professional dancer.
Yeah,
That must have
yeah,
felt very. That's like a rite of passage almost, right? Like you made it.
yeah, yeah. I was about 14. There's different stages of professionalism,
Right.
so probably just entering the beginning of that, and that foundation of just super discipline, um, training by a master would just set the course for my life in many ways.
Yeah, there's something very spiritual about that I would say most people in our culture are probably missing that level of discipline and that rite of passage of having a master tell you you've done well, like achieving
Right.
that, right? Like
Yeah.
that's also
Yeah.
very rare. So I can
Right. And
imagine.
that transition to womanhood,
Yeah.
that age of 13 and 14, that's so key, in puberty and the change and all of that. But to have a discipline, I told every one of my boys, I said, you have to have a passion. I
Mm,
don't care what it is, I'll support it.
that's beautiful.
But
Yeah. Well, and you have never stopped dancing, really, right? I mean,
I've had periods where I haven't danced, but in all the places I've lived, at one time or another, I've got back into it. And, just with that training, I've been able to learn a wide variety of dances.
I love
So
that. It's something
living
I've
in,
always wanted and never done. I'm going to get there someday, but
oh,
that's beautiful. um,
yeah.
yeah, and that then spilled over into how you raise your sons is also really beautiful to understand how important that was to you, and then want to give that to them as well. Uh, I want to ask though, like, do you feel like there's any specific lessons you've learned from dancing, um, that people might not get somewhere else, or just that have informed you, in whatever way?
Yeah, well, there's boy, that's vast,
Yeah, we could do a whole show
Yeah.
just on that.
Oh, yeah, yeah. There's multiple. But to have that experience of discipline, it really wasn't something that was imposed on me.
Yeah.
I mean, I just woke up one day and I was just raging discipline. Um, but that has carried forth in anything I've done in my life. Just the ability to be disciplined is a great quality to have, being a person, being a human, but just body movement, be able to listen to music, being able to hear music, being able to move the different sides of the brain.
Mm.
And it's allowed me to learn vastly different dances quite quickly.
That's
So, just an example, like when I lived in Montreal, there was a great from India, Bharatanatyam dance teacher, and I could just pick it up like that, and she loved me, and it was great. And then I got into flamenco,
oh
and
wow.
yeah, flamenco is a dance that trains the ear like no other dance. just I mean, your body is your instrument.
Wow.
So but the ballet gave me that. It carried me through all the different places I've lived. You know, you go to a new place and you don't know anyone, but you can find people through dancing.
That is cool.
So,
Like a pre-built community just waiting for you anywhere you go.
yeah, yeah. Like, for example, when I went to El Paso, Texas to study midwifery, of all places, and the midwifery program down there, which ended up being about 2.5 years. And the girls knew I liked to dance. And one said, "Hey, you got to check out this salsa place, El Rio." And I just put on my little boulder skirt and as naive as could be and walked into this. It almost felt like you were in Mexico. So I was the only white person in there, and I saw the salsa in the middle of the floor there, and I just fell in love. And so, just an example of, and then being able to pick it up pretty quickly, and
Oh, how cool.
so great experience.
People were probably like, wow, that white girl can dance like that.
Yeah, yeah.
um, yeah, so then you got into midwifery. That's amazing. Was this before or after you started having your own children?
I already had two of my five sons,
Okay.
and so they actually came with me to El Paso.
How cool.
And they're young men now, and we talk about our time in El Paso, and they said it was like life changing to go there and experience a different culture, and our first introduction to mole and tres leches and horchata and
Love it.
all of that. But I had the two boys, and they were quite young then. They were probably around 8, 9 years old.
Oh, how cool. So did you have a midwife for them when you had them? Is that what made you kind of
I
want to
did.
be a midwife?
I've always wanted to be a midwife.
Oh, wow. You
It
just
was
knew.
always a dream. Yeah, and even though I had practiced colon therapy, it was just a dream to be a midwife.
Wow.
So I was about 28 years old then, and I heard about this program in El Paso, and I just packed up my bags and signed up for the program, and it is a great clinic, and all these women would come over from Mexico to have their babies in the United States. They'd
Ah,
come over from Juarez, over the border there, and they wanted their children to be citizens. So they'd come to the clinic, and we got to get really hands-on experience in midwifery.
oh, wow. How cool. Do you still do that at all?
No,
No.
no, I don't do that. I was I didn't really do it very long. Um, it was just pretty taxing having kids,
And
but I'm so glad I did it. It in a way, I thought later after having three more kids, in some ways it was more about midwifing myself.
mm,
Uh, just going through those births as with the knowledge of a midwife, and not just knowledge, but on a spiritual level. My last son, my number 5 son, who I had when I was 43, I delivered him myself. So
wow.
he's a water birth. I delivered him under the water, and it was just a powerful, amazing kind of closure to have my last child.
In that, like, most primal way possible. Just
Absolutely.
you and this process.
Absolutely. The midwife came an hour later, and I had the baby in my arms, and it was pretty powerful. So my midwifery also has helped as a colon therapist. So it's another like deep, intimate
Mhm.
caregiving. And so even with women, like I've been able to help women on a different level in terms of, hormonally. Most people don't know that the hormonal process is in the digestive system. So I've helped
Yeah.
women a lot through colon therapy with more knowledge, having been a midwife.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have never just put those two things together, but now you're talking about it, and I'm like, yeah, good job putting those two things together. That's very smart. Um, yeah, so when you uh, were doing midwifery, were you ever familiar with the idea of ecstatic birth, or are you familiar with it now?
Um, I just think birth is ecstatic.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's
I agree.
painful. Yeah, I'm not saying it's probably the most painful thing a woman will ever go through, but it's ecstatic. Uh, I had a what's called a lotus birth with my last son, and that's the idea. It's done in indigenous countries. There's more knowledge about it there, where you never cut the umbilical cord.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
We've talked about that
yeah.
with some people on the show before. That's so cool. So you actually did that.
I did that with my last child.
Do you,
Yeah, with
do you,
my
do you find he's perhaps healthier than the rest? Just by chance?
one of the things they said is like because you don't cut the cord, you keep that bond.
Yeah.
These children come into the world more secure
Yeah.
and they're more fearless and they take on life and they have this comfort with life
Mm.
and with the world. And I see that with my son. He's just a mover and a shaker. Like he's a master of parkour and he's a great salsa dancer and my father and my brother took him rock climbing today and he climbed an advanced climb. It's called Cookie Jar. It's up here in Boulder and they just couldn't. But my dad was like, he's fearless. He climbed all the way to the top of that and so I do see that in him.
Wow.
Yeah, I do see that in him and a real like comfort with being here. Like he wants to be here. He was born in 15 minutes and he really wanted to come into this world.
That's so cool. 15 minutes. Wow. Yeah, and so I bet there's people out there who are like, hold up, wait, you were over 40 and you had another child and then you birthed it yourself. Because we're told that this is, I had three very close women in my life all get pregnant and give birth right around 41, 42, 43 sort of age. And all of them were labeled geriatric pregnancies.
Yeah.
Right, and but
Yeah.
that's so weird to me because I won't say your age, but I know you look and are health wise far younger than your age as far as what we expect people to be in our culture. And so I know your birth at 42 was like most people's 22. Right? But did they probably labeled you geriatric and probably told you
Well,
not to do that? And
I was kind of curious what the Western medicine um, doctor would say. And I knew that I wanted a midwife, but I wanted to kind of go in and see what their take was.
yeah.
Because when I was in Montreal, I had a very alternative hospital birth.
Oh wow.
And I wanted to see, actually, and in San Francisco I did as well.
Wow.
It was in the hospital, but it was alternative. It was set up alternative. They were with midwives. And
How cool.
this was in Colorado Springs. And no, the doctor looked at me like I was an old lady getting pregnant, and I'm like, I'm out of here.
Yeah. You're not gonna help me.
No, yeah, no, but I had a midwife for my pregnancy. I had initially wanted to deliver this child myself, and I thought, it's nice to have the comfort of a woman, and I ended up getting everything that I wanted. Like I got this awesome midwife, Dottie, here in Colorado Springs, and I had the comfort of her knowledge and her motherliness, and she's a mother of 8, I believe.
Wow.
And I got that through the pregnancy, and then when it was time to deliver, I got what I wanted. I mean,
Yeah.
he was coming fast, and I realized he was going to come, and I was ready for it. So
That's so amazing.
yeah, yeah,
It's beautiful what a person who's aware and intentional can do. Like birth 5 sons and be a midwife and a dancer and a colon hydrotherapist, and bring these beautiful energies into this world. But were you always like you always wanted to be a midwife? You always wanted to keep dancing once you found out. Did you always want to be a mother? Or was that something like since you were young you just
oh
knew?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. When I was young, I loved kids. I've always loved kids, and I never imagined I would have 5, and all sons.
Yeah, that's a lot of masculine energy.
It is, it is.
I love it. And one of them was born in a very they had a very interesting animal welcome. Will you tell us that story?
Yeah, my son Joaquin, and he's now 15 years old. And this was when I lived in the Bay Area, and he was my biggest baby. He was 10 pounds. and he just wanted to stay in. And he was 42 weeks, and they were about ready to induce him. And then I think it was the night of 42 weeks, hundreds of crows flooded, just came out of nowhere and flooded the house, all over the house and the trees, hundreds. And that night I went in labor, and he was born the next morning, and I never saw the crows again.
That's so amazing.
So I tell my son Joaquin that that is his totem sign,
Yeah,
the crow.
definitely a strong connection there.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
beautiful. Does he feel an affinity for the crows?
I'm not sure, I
Maybe
don't
it'll come with time.
know, but he's a very spiritual being.
Yeah, that's the other such amazing thing. If I'll just share with people that you're the one who they've heard all about my acupuncture. I've been telling them about it. And you're the one who actually referred me to this amazing acupuncturist we have. But I love that you and your son, go together uh, and get treated at the same time in the same room. Like, I just feel like that's such a beautiful experience to have.
It is. It's actually a real bond. I mean, him being 15, and at first he's like, "Oh, I don't want to get needles in me," and now he absolutely adores Dr. Chen. Like, when are we going again? When are we going again?
He's so
And
cool.
Dr. Chen puts us in the same room, and it is a bond. It's special that we share that together.
Truly, I really appreciate that. I mean, there's so many parents out there who kind of wish they could be closer to their children, and you just have this incredible bond with all of your children. And I think that just speaks to your presence and intention as their mother in this life. So you're this beautiful mothering energy, you're this amazing dancer, you're a midwife, but you're also this colonics hydrotherapist and or colon hydrotherapist. And I know some people out there have also been hearing me talk about that, so they may already be familiar because they're doing it themselves or because they've been hearing me. But just for anyone who has no idea what we're talking about, do you want to share with them what colonics are and why they're different also from enemas?
Yeah, yeah. Um, a colonic is going to be way deeper than an enema. So it's basically warm filtered water via disposable tubing that comes into the gut that basically cleans out the gut. We're 80% water as humans. You put water back into the body loves it. So you can go back into biblical times, Egyptian times. They knew to clean out the gut,
Yeah.
believe it or not. And who knows how they were doing that? Like
Yeah.
the reed from a river, or I don't
Yeah.
know. But this is old knowledge. Um, this is old knowledge, and it's not as scary as people think. I have people like, "Gosh, I heard about this 3 years ago, and I'm only coming in now, and I just wish I had known, I had come sooner, because it's not as scary as I imagined." So people are, they have their head on a pillow, they're on a massage table, they're covered with a towel. Um, I give what's called a gravity flow colonic. So that's a colonic that honors the timing of the body. There's not a push or pull that's imposed upon the body. And so I'm an advocate for the gravity flow system. Um, we work with the colonic together. There's an inflow and there's a release through closed tubing. I do a little bit of belly massage. That's kind of it in a nutshell. When people come in for the first time, I definitely, I explain everything. I want people to feel comfortable. They can ask any questions that they have. A lot of people are nervous, and I'm used to it. And so over the years, like, rather than trying to talk somebody out of being nervous, we just accept it,
Mm.
Fine to be nervous.
Yeah.
It'll just pass.
Right.
It'll just pass. And that's what happens. People get comfortable with it. They feel so much better. So bottom line, I mean, you can feel such a change after one colonic. So it's not like you have to get 10 to feel better.
No.
So
Yeah. Just
yeah,
although I suggest you get 10.
yeah,
Just me
yeah.
personally, like just keep going.
Everybody, I tell every person, you're going to feel better after one, but everyone needs a series of colonics. It took so long to get here. It's not just all going to fly out of the body. And there's different levels of cleansing. It's not
Yes.
just, most people initially are moving out basic constipation.
Mm.
That's what's happening. And what's real, I think something really interesting for people to know, there are there are two types of constipation. One is people don't go for any day or days. And that's what people normally think of as constipation.
Yeah.
And then most Americans, or a majority of Americans that have some kind of movement every day, they don't think they're constipated, but they are.
This is what
So,
you were telling me that blew my mind. I was like, oh, I mean, I knew I was, but I didn't know everybody was.
yeah, yeah. So I have people that have some type of daily movement or movements, and they get on the colonic table and they move like nobody's business, and they're like, wow, I'm really backed up. And I've had rail thin people just dump like you can't believe. So it's not just in people that have mass, you
Yeah.
know, tummy or have mass, but even what's kind of interesting, because I also see top athletes, even with athletes, like for example, I can have an athlete with a washboard belly, just fit, the the embodiment of what fit looks like. And actually there's a little rise to that. So yeah, they have a rock hard belly, and but underneath that is pounds of backup.
Wow.
So here we have someone that the world looks at as a fit and healthy, and still these athletes are like,
Wow.
I have an Olympian athlete, and he is a long distance runner, and he's super slim, and he takes a sabbatical in Colorado Springs 1 month out of the year because he likes to get a series of colonics.
That's so cool.
And he's a tiny little guy. I mean, he's super small, and he gets about 5 colonics in a month, and he's it's a game changer for him.
Yeah. I loved hearing about that, that these Olympic athletes will come and, I think you were telling me too, there's someone who comes just like the day before like an event or something because they just feel like it gives them that edge,
Right.
right? That's,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
so cool.
I mean, athletes, if most of them knew what this would do for them, especially like I think of the football players, and I don't know anything about football, but when I watch football, I can't help but think, wow, they would benefit from a colonic.
Yes.
I have not had a football player, but
Well,
I had a lot of athletes come in.
you never know because I know I got into the Seahawks when I was living in Seattle and they were going to the Super Bowl because it's exciting when everyone's excited, and so I was like, yay, everyone's excited. Like, let's go to the Super Bowl. And that, so then I started learning like some of the players and the coaches. Pete Carroll was a coach there, and part of why he attributes at least their success to doing so well a couple seasons in a row was because he had them all meditate daily
Wow.
and
Yeah.
visualize, their success over and over again. And I mean, we know that works, but the sports world doesn't necessarily always know that. And so I bet if they started learning about things like this, people like Pete Carroll at least would be like, okay, you guys are getting colonics every week or whatever.
Right, right.
You gotta get it into the right people's mind, and then it'll start to
Yeah, yeah.
shift, perhaps.
Yeah, well, I have a long-term goal is to make a documentary on colonics. So that's kind of in a little bit in the future, but the world needs to know.
Yes.
No, we've got documentaries are big now. We have all these documentaries on food, Super Size Me, and what eating McDonald's does to you, but there's nothing on cleansing.
There's very little, yeah. And even
So,
when there are, and you're the one of the people who brought this up to me too, that it's such an important point because I do cleanses frequently. I do the master cleanse from, we try to do 4 cleanses a year basically, like every solstice and equinox, do some kind of a cleanse. And you were saying, well, if you're not getting a colonic, it's almost like, what are you doing? Because you're cleansing out
yeah,
all this toxin and then it's just sitting in your backed up system. It has nowhere to go.
right. Yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of people that maybe they want to change their diet. They want to feel better. They know that there's such thing as a cleanse.
Yeah.
They I'd even go to the health food store and pick out a cleanse. An herbal cleanse. It could be a liver cleanse. It could be a gallbladder cleanse. But still, most people don't know how important it is to do colonics. Any cleanse that you're doing. Um, yeah, the master cleanse, a juicing cleanse, the colonic is going to be the gold at the end of the rainbow. That's
Yeah.
where all the fruits of your work are going to come. That's all those toxins. And when people don't do colonics along with these cleanses, even if they think they're moving a lot of those toxins get recycled back into the bloodstream.
Yeah.
So not common knowledge,
No.
the the person at the health food store might not even know to tell people, or I'd like there to be a day when on the box it says recommended to do with colonics.
That'd be so cool.
But we're not quite there yet. We're
No.
not we're not there yet.
In fact, we're still in a place where a lot of people go, "Oh, colonics, that's dangerous. I heard that was dangerous." So, tell us about why, what some of the supposed dangers are and how they're not actually true.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of misunderstanding on the internet, and there is about everything, but I think a lot of misunderstanding about colonics. Some people might say, "Oh, that takes all the good flora out of the body." Their doctor said it's not good for you. It's not natural. All that waste that's sitting in the body. It's like the analogy of food rotting in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
That's turning the body acidic. It's keeping the body from making good flora in the gut. So actually, when we move out this waste, and it's a twofold process. So we want to be cleansing and then what's coming in here. So then the body can start making good flora. And initially I tell people, yeah, it's good to be on probiotics, but there comes a point when someone can be so healthy that, they're cleansing, they're eating right. I'm big on kimchi. I'm big on the fermented foods. I don't need to pay a lot of money for, acidophilus and all the different flora.
You've
But
got it in the kitchen.
yeah, initially it's helpful. But the body actually wants to help you. So if you give it the right things along with cleansing, the body makes good flora. So that's one of the misunderstandings. Another big one is it's going to dehydrate me. And so absolutely false. It is the complete opposite, especially the gravity flow colonic, because there is this honorable holding process that the body can hold onto the hydration that it needs. So we have water coming in and the body will drink in the hydration that it needs. And actually this is one of the most powerful forms of hydration is in the gut. And so I explain to people there's a long journey from here down to the gut, and most people are impacted in the gut. And so that long journey of water drinking, whether or not they're drinking enough water, they might be, they might not be. But a lot of that water that takes that long journey there doesn't hydrate well into dehydration and impaction, bypasses to the bladder. And so have someone say, well, I can't drink any more water. I'm going to be sitting on the toilet. But guess what? When we start to get colonics, we have a hydrated environment. We're hydrating that environment. The body is drinking in the water that it needs. We're moving out waste. And so anything that you're doing here, whatever you're eating or the water drinking, will become more effective to saturate into the gut. And, from there, we can go into the conversation of the gut-brain connection, which is...
Yeah.
So it's a much deeper level of hydration, I think, than even an IV.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that is not people's conception. I do want to talk about the gut brain connection, but I also, there's one more misconception that I was told at least, which is like, oh, well, if you're having that done, your body's just going to stop moving stuff out itself. Like it doesn't need to now, and so it'll just hold on to it longer. And how is that not true?
Correct. Yeah, that is another biggie. Well, the colonic actually strengthens the gut. So especially we're talking about the gravity flow colonic, and this is one of the reasons that I'm an advocate for the gravity flow colonic. So pressure system does a certain degree of push and pull for the body, but with the gravity flow colonic, it's the understanding that the body is wise and intelligent. And so we're doing all these kind things for the body. We're putting beautiful purified water, allowing that to come into the body, allowing the body to hydrate. And actually, we are waking up someone's natural peristalsis. Now, what peristalsis means is the muscular movement of the gut. So the large intestine has muscles that actually give us our bowel movement. And you can just imagine when we move waste out, the body can move again. So that muscular movement of the gut. And so I tell people, because everyone understands what the gym is, it's like taking your gut to the gym. So this is strengthening the body. This is strengthening the movement of the gut. And dominantly, my clientele are constipated people. So, I mean, I can write a whole book on clients and their testimonies and how they've changed their eating and how they've resolved their constipation. And so this strengthens the body.
It's beautiful. I love it. Yeah, there's nothing to fear, and all of those things are things that I guess technically might happen to someone somewhere, but it's not. It's not, especially like you said with the gravity system. It's not what's happening in general. Someone in the chat just said, "I'm fighting my inner child on this," and I totally understand. There's part of you that just wants to say, like, no one's putting anything in my butt, right? But it's very gentle. It doesn't. It's not. You just that's like the one hurdle. That's for 1 second, and then it's done. And then now you're just getting this beautiful cleansing.
It's not as scary as people. I mean, I give a 7-year-old a colonic.
Yeah.
My youngest clients have been 7.
That's amazing.
That's not every 7-year-old that can do this.
Right.
But basically, the speculum. I use coconut oil. We've all had a bigger bowel movement.
Yeah.
That's what I tell them.
That's a good point.
Had a bigger bowel movement than this. I've given a 7-year-old a colonic with this.
Yes.
So it's really quite gentle. A lot of people have hemorrhoids, but doesn't affect us, doesn't stop us. I'm super gentle. I've been doing this for 20 some years, inserting speculums.
Yeah.
So it's super gentle. It's and everything is disposable. So all the tubing, the speculum, everything is disposable.
Yeah, that's very cool too. So you don't have to worry about.
Very clean, very sterile. Yeah.
I want to go back to the gut-brain connection that you were talking about. Tell us more about that.
Well, they call the gut the second brain, and basically there's an instant connection between your gut and your brain. I'll give you just kind of an example that everybody can relate to, most everybody. My theory is if people would eat right and cleanse, it would put the sleeping pill industry out of business.
And probably the mental health pill business too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So when people start to cleanse, they just start to feel better. They sleep better. They have more clarity of thinking, less brain fog, more energy, less depression. No wonder so many people are depressed.
Yeah.
I mean, they're full of rotting poop in the body. And that is an instant connection. Another interesting thing that is, I think it's kind of interesting, is that, we have a speculum that it's about the size of a quarter, maybe that diameter. But when you very, very gently are holding the anus open with the insert, it just gets a little, like I said, a bowel movement's bigger than that.
Yeah.
But from the anus, it directly tells the brain to poop. So that's very powerful.
Right.
Very powerful when you have the body instantly telling the brain
it's time to go.
Oh.
Yeah.
And after someone has a really good release on a colonic, they feel it. It's like euphoria. Just feel better, happier, people smiling. And I've had people come in with a lifetime of constipation and have the first big movement they might have ever had in their entire life.
Wow.
And I've literally had people cry with joy. So
I relate. I mean, I didn't cry for joy even you weren't my first colon hydrotherapist, actually, and I didn't cry for joy then either. But I have these huge emotional releases too, and I think if you've done cleansing, and a lot of the people listening maybe have done cleansing, you can relate to that cleansing side of releasing emotional and spiritual and mental stuff along with the physical stuff that you're releasing. So that happens to me a lot when I'm doing this, where I'll just feel like, wow, something really big just left, like emotionally, and
Right.
so that's definitely happening for me too. But I do, in general, just since working with you, which I don't know, maybe a month and a half or something, let's say, I have a much clearer mind. I have a much more stable, just present, calm energy in general. All I could go on and on. They've heard it all before from me anyway, but my my health is dramatically improving, including my mental and emotional health. And like you said, and I love that you say this, it's absolutely true. This is the missing key. No, what do you say? This is the missing puzzle
The
piece.
missing piece.
Yeah.
The missing piece in health.
Right.
Yeah, most people know they should be eating better.
Yeah.
That's common knowledge. Whether they're doing that or not is another thing. Most people know they should be exercising, but not everybody knows how important cleansing is.
And maybe it wouldn't be if from birth until your whole life you only ate really clean, organic and fruits and vegetables all day and really hydrated. Almost no one is doing that though,
Yeah. Yeah, I still think those people would benefit from a colonic if they're out there. We're getting toxins from everywhere.
Everywhere.
You know,
That's
from
true.
the air. Yeah, from the air, from skin products, from shampoos, from deodorants, not just our food. And then there's like, is our organic food really how vital is that food? The
Yeah.
soils are being depleted, and organic food now isn't what it was 50 years ago. So
I've
I believe that those people would still benefit from cleansing.
That's a great point. Yeah, organic farms, even especially the bigger ones, can get these exemptions. If they're having a down year or they feel like their profits won't be as high, they can not be as strict with what they're spraying or doing or whatever, and still call it organic. So you're absolutely right.
Exactly.
We have no idea.
Right. Right.
And what are these Western sort of allopathic doctors? Do any of them support what you're doing? Do you ever get them sending you people, or are they pretty?
Very rarely. I just get stories of them. Yeah, from my people a lot of people who have had a dead end with Western medicine and their health. And they bring their stories, of the lack of help they have in that area with the Western medicine.
Yeah.
So very few doctors have ever recommended colonics. There's been a few, but very few.
And probably a lot more who have tried to actively stop anyone from going, like told
Right.
their
Telling
yeah.
telling clients of mine, oh, that's not safe, that's dangerous, that's not natural.
So natural.
Oh, you don't need that. Take a Miralax. Here, we'll give you Miralax.
They're like, here's this SSRI. That's way more natural than water.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man.
Yeah, and then they're going out to Carl's Jr. on their lunch break.
Yeah. That's what I'm always like. What kind of doctor are you if you don't? I know I told you this story, and my audience has probably heard it a million times too. But my last doctor, I said, I'm going to try to use some specific dietary things and see how much that helps my thyroid condition. She was like, oh, there's no evidence that would help.
Wow.
And I was like, blew my mind. I was like, what do you
Yeah.
mean there's no evidence of that?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Sadly, just in that area of the body, there's just such a lack of knowledge in Western medicine.
It's very sad. And people probably just feel so good to finally have someone like you who understands and will help and just, knows that Western medicine can fail and just knows that this is the best way to help heal no matter what condition you're facing, right? I mean, can you think of a condition that wouldn't be helped by this?
Everybody needs to cleanse.
Yeah.
I have people that are terminally ill. I have people with one or another of the digestive problems. I have people with what I call classic constipation that don't go any day or days. And then that majority of the population that has a movement, and guess what? They're still constipated. I have people that want to lose weight, people that want to feel better, people that have bloating, they don't know why, they have different symptoms, they're just not feeling right. They just saw that this could help them, a friend told them. And then I have, the athletes and that clientele. And sadly, it's the smallest part of my clientele, but my super healthy people who come.
Mm.
And my people who eat really well, my people that have been cleansing for years, they're old clients of mine who keep coming in. They know in this day and age, we have to keep cleansing the body.
Yeah.
We're getting toxins from everywhere. And believe it or not, those people, they get up on the table, they move like crazy, and they're off the table in half an hour, 40 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So those are the easiest colonics.
Mm.
Are those people that eat really well.
That's so good. I know that part of this too, for me at least, my main goal is to be clearing out my liver, because I know it's at the center of the, storm of maladies that seems to plague me for years now that I'm going to conquer. And so I've really narrowed it down to that. And for the liver to be able to release these toxins, my gut has to be pretty pristine, and for me to then get those out of my body, colonics is the best way for me to get to that point. So anybody out there who's cleansing and that knows that something like that is going on, where their liver is really probably got some old toxins that are still built up in there and wreaking havoc, I just think this is the best way to go.
Yeah, yeah. Lindsay, can I say something on that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So what's kind of interesting is there's different stages of cleansing. And just right off the bat here, without delving too much into it, but once people start moving the basic constipation in a large intestine, so the liver, I call the king of the digestive system, and the liver sits at the top. So I don't recommend cleansing the liver until the gut is moving. Most people who don't know might do a liver cleanse, but the gut's not moving well. So there again, a lot of those toxins go into the bloodstream. But the deeper cleansing, the digestive cleansing, which is mainly where my healthy people are at when they come in for a colonic, the gut is moving well. They don't have a lot of backup. There's not a lot of impaction on the sidewalls of the large intestine, and the liver is free to move.
Mm.
So this is really interesting, the intelligence of the body.
Yeah.
So if the liver could talk,
Mm-hmm.
it would say, wow, everything is clear there. Now, this is the colonic, so the colonic is even stimulating the liver.
That's amazing.
So we don't have water traveling up into the digestive system. But if the body is ready, the liver will say, I'm going to move. And so the liver can actually, and then that stimulates the rest of the digestive system to move out of the colonic.
Wow.
During the colonic. And that's a powerful, when we get the liver to move, that's a really powerful stage of cleansing. And not everybody gets there.
I'm going to get there.
Not everybody knows to want to get there.
Right.
And when the liver starts to move, that's really when the deeper healing starts to happen in the body. It's kind of a domino effect back into the other organs of the body.
Mm.
So, and that's usually a pretty intense release. So,
Can you see
bile.
the difference? Because I know you
Uh-huh.
can see through the tube what's coming
yeah,
out.
yeah, it's bile. It's bright yellow. It's like fluorescent.
Wow.
And usually it feels hot to the person,
Ah,
but it's acid. It's really acid when
Wow.
that's moving through the body. Somebody having a liver release can be extremely nauseous for a little while, and then once it comes out, there is after a full-blown liver release, people float off of the table. And if I could use one word from the English dictionary, it would be euphoria.
ah.
And that is the beginning of what it feels like to be optimally healthy.
Wow.
Is to be high on health. I think all addiction would go away if people could be high on health.
Truly, I really agree with you, and that a lot of these addictions to food and drugs and drink and everything that we have are because our body is so it just needs something, and we need something, and our mental health is failing because our gut is not doing well, and all this stuff is just getting worse and worse and worse. And so we just turn to this, I don't know, we have nowhere else to go, we think. But oh my God, if you could just feel great.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like the feeling of alcohol. I experience optimal health. I'd rather feel optimally healthy, and most people don't even know what that feels like.
No.
So it's
Yeah, it's sad. It's a sad state we're in.
yeah,
There's some questions from people in the chat that I'm going to ask. So, one person, Dakota, asks, after colon hydrotherapy, what are the best steps to keep from getting impacted again? It's a good question.
yeah, yeah. Well, I have two products I recommend, and they're not laxatives. So we want to try to stay away from laxatives. Laxatives are okay for an emergency, but they weaken the lining of the colon. So I have a lot of clientele that have extreme success with what I call a MAG 07 digestive cleanser and tripla. I don't know if Ayurvedic medicine. Tripla is like one of the top herbals in Ayurvedic medicine. And the two of them work really well together. So that is generally the product I will recommend for people, depending on how constipated they are. My really constipated people will do that every night, and they can do it for a long period of time. They won't have the weakening effects of a laxative. And then, of course, it's what you're putting in here. So this is very important. I work with my clients at the level that they're at. So I also do counseling on their eating. So, and everybody wants a different thing, so you have to be really sensitive to that. I can't have, for example, someone that's eaten junk food their entire life. They don't know anything else. They're not going to resolve their constipation until they change their diet. And I can give up them colonics, but if they're putting McDonald's back in here, and then we have to work with people at that level to where they're comfortable. So, for example, someone might be addicted to Coke. And so for their goal is to move the soda drinking down. That might be their goal, what they're comfortable with. You have to meet people where they are. But to answer the question, it's resolve. I'm not even going to call it a diet. It's a lifestyle. It's coming into a real healthy lifestyle. Starting to make the changes. And that looks a little bit different for everybody. There's not one diet that's right for everyone. Everybody's different. Everybody's different.
I love
Even
that.
people that say, "Oh, I eat really healthy." Well, let's talk about the diet. Tell me what you eat during a given day. Yeah, and I pig out on nuts. Well, guess what? Nuts are healthy, but they're constipating.
Ah.
So, we tweak these things. We look at things. Someone's struggling with constipation. Maybe they do eat fairly healthy, but there's still things they're eating that aren't helping them. So, yeah, so the answer would be I'm real big on this Mago 7, the triple. It's helped a lot of people. They can be on it long term. It doesn't have any weakening effects. And then it's a process for everyone in a different way at changing what they're putting in here, the ability that they're able to. So that could be a longer journey for some people to resolve constipation.
Yeah, especially, part of my my ideal diet for me is the autoimmune protocol diet, and I know it, I've done it, and it's the only thing that I can actually be very, very healthy upon. But there's so many things I can't eat that I'm in like an ongoing, over a year now long sort of battle with myself of like what I'm taking out, what I'm putting back in, and what I'm taking out and what I'm putting back in. Because I'm like, oh, I'll just have tomatoes for a little while. They're tomatoes, they're healthy for you. And then I'm eating tomatoes and I'm like, oh yeah, they're not actually that great for me.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
but I have this like emotional attachment to like all these things, they all have to go at once. So but it's always an upward trend, So like you said, you do have to start where you're at. You have to be know what your goals are, and then just like work with what you can, baby steps, one thing at a time, maybe, right?
Right. Yeah. Some people are ready to move fast. Some people are ready like, oh yeah, I'm going to go cold turkey. I'm going to get rid of this. And other people can't. So it's being sensitive to that.
Another question that was asked is, how do you think what is the best way to find or interview, or what types of things might you ask a hydrotherapist in their area if they were looking for somebody?
I recommend, I'm obviously an advocate for the gravity flow, but there are less of us. And you can if you find a good colon therapist that does a pressure system, it's better to get that colonic than nothing at all. I'm also really big on the belly massage.
Yeah,
So
I didn't have that last time
some
I.
some colon therapists don't do it, and I'm like, the belly massage is so important because you have water in there, you're hydrating everything, and you're helping to wake up the body. So I think the massage is very important. And then it's just feeling comfortable with the person. There's when you're having the bottom is kind of taboo, you know, this the poop and the bottom, and so people have to be honored with love. There has to be a non-judgmental atmosphere for people to be, and not everybody could do that, and being judgment is part of the human ego, but I think a colon therapist that can hold that space, of non-judgment. I have all kinds of people coming in, people that, I mean, I've had hookers come in.
Yeah.
You got to love people.
Right.
There has to be no no judgment to have people come in and do this very vulnerable thing that when we're small children, we're told, go to the potty, go to the potty,
Don't touch
it's
it. Yeah.
yeah, it's ingrained in us. It's dirty. It's whatever. It's poopy. It's stinky. It's icky. And in Hollywood, where nobody talks about poop, Cinderella doesn't poop. Snow White doesn't poop. Like it's not. It's sensitive. It's vulnerable. And I take this as a real honor to hold this space for people. People need to. We all poop. The most glamorous people in the world poop.
Yes.
So
I love it. And that's how I felt. So what I actually did was I went to Google Maps and I typed in colonics, and then, whatever came up. But when I got to you, I was like, I had a feeling, and I looked at the reviews, and everyone had that same, like, oh my God, Valerie is so comforting, and she's so, like, loving, and she's so gentle. And then I was like, this is the person who I need to go to. Because, like, someone said in the chat earlier, like, my inner child, I'm battling with them right now. You have this, like, even though I had done it before, I still had that too. And I think you're absolutely right, bringing that love, and you're just so good at that. I mean, being a mother of 5, I'm sure helped, and being a midwife and all of this helped you understand really how truly, like, this is an important space to hold. There's spiritual work going on with this. I know that's like the last thing that people probably expect us to even talk about or mention, but I really, when I was saying that, I feel this release, and sometimes I feel just like massive cleansing come in on the spiritual level. And I mean, we're doing that from a colonics. I don't know if everyone has that experience. I know that's kind of who I am too, but I think that's possible for anybody to have, and you are the best person to be able to experience that with. And I would hope anyone can find someone like you if they're searching in their area.
Thank you so much.
So now people who are sharing some of their people in their regions too, who are good. And someone else asked, would you suggest fasting along with doing colonics?
Yeah, a lot of people want to fast. I kind of feel if people aren't on a good lifestyle, I don't recommend it. I'd like to see people cleanse, getting to a good lifestyle, because what happens when people do a fast and they don't know how to eat is they go back to that. So I think it's a little more beneficial to to start to change the lifestyle, to come into a good, healthy lifestyle, and then do a serious cleanse like that. You are going to be cleansing, just changing your lifestyle.
Yeah.
And some people will move toward that serious cleansing faster than others. So if I have someone that's relatively healthy, but they need to make some changes, they'll get to that quicker than somebody that's eating junk food, changing the lifestyle.
Yeah, and I really, for me right now, our goal and what we're doing right now is we're trying to do a juice a day, salad a day with a protein, and then a smoothie or some meal that's mostly veggies, and then a protein. It's basically the salad but hot. And that's working really, really, really well. You're like so happy, it's so nutritious, you're filled up, everything's moving better. And I went through cleansing even doing that, and I wasn't eating unhealthy before that. So that's how, just like pushing it up a notch, no matter where you're starting from, is, like you said, going to cause cleansing to happen.
Someone might be ready for a serious cleanse, but most people aren't. They aren't, or they're not quite ready. Because if you have someone that doesn't know how to eat, they shock the body. So,
and that's a bit too much cleansing symptoms.
Yeah, and then they're going back to maybe an unhealthy diet.
Yeah. How often do you think that people should be getting colonics once they start?
Well, there's an ideal recommendation, and that's usually I have people coming in once a week. Because one colonic, all the work that we do with the hydration and the waking the body up, helps the next colonic. And I don't like to spread them out too far. So ideally, that's what people do, is they come in once a week. Sometimes if someone's severely constipated, I might have them come in 2 or 3 times in 1 week.
Just get
Generally,
it started.
It's about once a week. Some people live far away. They can only come in twice a week. It's just, for some people it's the best that they can do. But
at least get one, and then if you can, once a week is really good.
It's great.
Yeah. I know you and I have talked about this, but I don't know if everybody has heard before, and you have an informed opinion about it. And coffee enemas are kind of the big rage, and all sorts of people are doing coffee enemas. And would you suggest that people do coffee enemas or a coffee colonics, if that was even possible?
Well, it's the same thing, It's like coffee stimulates the liver. So, and the liver's at the top. So, and people are constipated. So it's not really for a benefit for people to stimulate the liver before the gut's moving well. Just a certain amount of those toxins will come back into the bloodstream. So
that makes so much sense.
Yeah. At some point, it could be beneficial for people to do coffee enemas, but not right away.
And then when you were describing, that there will be a natural cleansing that the liver will release anyway, so you don't necessarily need coffee to get to that point.
Correct. There's many ways to cleanse the liver. So when people are ready and when the gut's moving, usually it's a liver cleanse that we pick out. For some people, it might be a parasite cleanse.
And
parasite cleanse might be better to do first.
How much of the population would you guess might have an issue with parasites?
Everybody's got some parasites to some degree or another.
But no one thinks they do.
Yeah, different levels of severity.
Yeah, and this is another thing that Western medicine is pretty... they're just opposed to it. Like, you just can't even bring it up to them. They're like, oh, you're insane. Like, how would that be insane for me to wonder if I have this very common thing that most people seem to have?
Yeah,
So
or they
weird.
put you on a really harsh drug, a drug that just destroys you along with everything else. And
Man,
definitely, they're not going to recommend colonics.
so good luck. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was wondering what you would think, I guess I already know what your answer probably is, but just in case, if somebody just suddenly encountered a new toxin that they had no idea like what it was going to do to them or what it really even was, but they just knew it was probably not that good, would you say like going to get a colonic would be a good response to that? Ingesting,
you mean like a medication?
maybe a medication or something, that they just...
Yeah, absolutely. Any type of thing that you don't want in the body that you want out, the colonic is the fastest way to do it. So even getting food poisoning, like
good point.
food poisoning, it's great to come in for a colonic right away. You will bypass a huge percentage of your suffering.
That makes
and just
so
get
much
that
sense.
out of the body right away.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh yeah, someone's bringing up ivermectin. There seems to be a connection to ivermectin and cancer and parasites, and ivermectin clears out the parasites, and a lot of cancer patients find a reduction or complete release of their cancer. So very interesting to look into that. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. That's just a random comment.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know that drug. So.
What else have we not touched on yet that you might want people to know about colonics or the health benefits of it?
Boy, we've covered a lot.
I know. I feel like we hit on everything, but I wanted to make sure because you know better than me.
Yeah. You know, there's. I think we went over this a little bit, but there's different stages of cleansing, and most people are just working with their constipation initially. So, but people feel better. You know, they feel better after one. It's you don't have to get 10 colonics to feel better.
Yeah.
And a book that I'd like to recommend that I recommend to all my clients, if you really want to know more about it, is Scott Webb's book, Inside Poop.
I second this recommendation. It's very good fun.
Yeah,
You had me read it, and it was very worth it.
right. And he really delves into like why we are so backed up as Americans and all the different stages of cleansing that can be done. And he's an awesome writer, and he's got a great sense of humor, and it's an easy read. It's very informative. It's a real eye opener.
Yeah, and it kind of tackles so many things too, not just our. He weaves in a lot that's just kind of wrong with society, which is, and how to maybe go about fixing that as well.
Yeah. Oh, here's one more. Can I say one?
Yeah,
thing?
please do.
Just to bring up, I mean, there's so many things, but our skin is the biggest organ of our body.
Oh yeah.
The skin. And so when people start cleansing and eating right, their skin starts to clear up. So any type of skin issue is indicative of toxins, no matter what it is. It's so people will have definitely, you can really look at somebody's health by their skin, their eyes, the clarity in their eyes.
That's a really good point. We have another good question. How do I know if I'm constipated? Well, I would say based on what you were saying that you just probably are. But yeah. How would you know?
The biggest way that you can know you're constipated is to come in and get a colonic.
Yeah, see how much comes out. You're like, what?
You feel it. It wakes up the body. Like I had a client last week, and a slim young man, works in construction. I go every day, and I told him really gently that, yeah, you're constipated, and he scuffed me off, And so he got the colonic, and he could feel it. He was like, "You are right. I'm constipated." So we were waking up his body. He could feel that. Since then, he's been for his second colonic, and we got into deeper movement.
Wow.
And we kind of laughed about it. He said, "Yeah, I didn't take you seriously." And until I got on the table, and here I am on my second colonic, and slim man, and here he can feel, he could see the massive movement. Now we're on his second colonic that he's moving through the tube. So I think the biggest wake-up call is to actually get a colonic.
Just go see.
Yeah.
Well, I know maybe it's in the book Inside Poop that you recommended by Scott Webb. Or maybe you had mentioned, I'm not sure, but I had heard this before as well, and I was like, that's crazy, no one ever does that. And yes, they do, and I do now too. But they say, if you're eating anything, you probably should poop afterwards. Like it's like a cause and effect sort of thing. And so if you eat a meal and you don't, that might also be a symptom of constipation, right?
Well, that food's not disappearing.
Yeah. Where's it going?
Yeah. It's amazing what the body can hold on to.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. I know when I was young, I had a week once where I did not have a bowel movement once. I mean, like, since I was a very young child, I've obviously been constipated. People out there listening are like, okay, Lindsay, too much information. But seriously, my whole life, I've just had these issues, and I don't think everyone just thought, well, that's just you. And I'm like, no, I mean, it turns out it's probably all the bread and cheese I was eating constantly, and no vegetables or fruit, and, just corn and grains and like oils and stuff. Like, that's not a good method. And I think I've been underhydrated my whole life as well, mostly. I think it's very recently that I've really understood what it takes to be well hydrated, and I'm probably still not quite getting there all the time, but that's someone asks in connection with that, they asked it first actually, but a nice segue. How important is hydration and water intake, and how often, or what suggestion is there? Like, what would you say is the ideal amount of water and hydration to take in a day?
Yeah. Well, there's no exact number, but I will say this. It's better to be hydrated all day long. Not drink a lot of water in one part of the day and not on another.
Yeah.
And people have different jobs. Some jobs it's hard to have water there. And for some people, they're impacted in the gut. A lot of that water goes to the bladder. They have to take trips to the bathroom. That can be hard in a work environment.
Mm.
But I would say, and then people are different sizes. So we got little
True.
people, we got big people, so there's not like any exact number, but I'd say it's regular hydration. Drink a glass of water every hour.
Mm.
Don't let a long time period go without drinking water. And then the people that are coming in for colonics, they get a head start on their hydration every time they get a colonic from the gut. So
The best way to take it in, like you said, most direct way to take it in.
Right.
Yeah, that was another thing I heard is if you pee once an hour, you're probably pretty well hydrated, but it has to actually be from like water or maybe herbal tea or something. It can't be from like Coke or coffee or that kind of stuff. So
water. Yeah, water.
And
not even tea, really water.
Yeah. I put I love now putting cucumber in my water. I used to be like, why? And now I'm like, well, I'm drinking water all day, and it's really delicious actually to have some cucumber in it, or maybe a little lemon, or whatever. Give it a little pep. So if you're like me and you have some weird need for it to be flavored in some way, then you could try things like this, and it's also nice. Awesome. People are very happy that you are sharing with them and answering these questions. And what do you think that you've gained overall in your journey through health and offering people colonics for so long, and midwifery and all this? What's your sort of?
Wow, that's a huge answer.
That is huge. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Just an easy question at the end here.
Okay. Yeah. It's just an honor to be able to help people this way. I mean, I love what I do. I go to bed at night and my heart is full. I get most gratitude from people doing this. It's just a lot of gratitude, and I feel like I'm helping people in a profound way. And what better to have a job? I mean, I'm not just shelving stuff at Walmart, I'm actually doing something that's profound for people. I'm on the forefront of a movement, so that's exciting. Thinking about doing a documentary, and it's fun to be on the forefront of something. It's fun to have all this to give to people. It's satisfying. And in my own health, I walk what I talk. And I'm 53. I'm fit. I'm healthy. I can outrun girls half my age. It's just my own health, like my own personal goal. I share this with my people, is we can be young and vibrant in every decade of our life.
Yes.
We don't have to settle with thinking we're on all these meds, or, oh, I'm such and such years old, so it's normal that I have a belly, or it's normal that I can't get up, or I can't bend, or, No, we can step out of that. We can absolutely be youthful in our elderly years. There's no reason we have to be feeble.
That is such a beautiful takeaway, because people are not given that vision, by anything really in our culture. People are given the opposite vision, like you said, of like, well, you're going to start to crumble at 40, and then you'll get on the pills, and then you'll just slowly get fatter and fatter, and then you'll die in pain. by the way. You'll be in pain for most of the time until you die. Like, that's what my doctor told me. That's when I was like, okay, done with doctors, doing whatever else, like literally anything else I can, because I'm not going to live like this anymore. When she was like, oh yeah, that'll be like this until you die. It'll get worse until you die. I'm like, you're a healer? No.
Yeah.
Here's Valerie. You're an actual healer. You, like you said, you walk your talk, but you're like a walking advertisement. And I'll say the last colon hydrotherapist I had was similar. She is very similar in that she was an age you would never guess, because she looks amazing like you do. You look at least, 10, if not 15, 20 years younger than you are. And that's head to toe, and it just shines in your personality as well. Like, it's clear that you are very happy and healthy. And so what better advertisement for colonics could you give besides living that and being that? People have to know, okay, well then it's real. There's no lie here.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. I mean, my own personal goal is just, I mean, we're going to age.
Yeah.
It's just gonna happen. We're going to die, But like, how healthy can we be? It should be joyful. It should be joyful, and we have to step away from the world that says, this is normal to be feeble, and all this is normal. No, we have to believe that we can be vibrant at 80. My father is 81, and he just took my 10-year-old son rock climbing today.
That's amazing.
So he still kayaks. He's still, he's getting older, but he's an inspiration to me.
I love that. Yeah, what a beautiful thing. And then you're passing it on to 5 more human beings. So hopefully there's plenty of people who are going to take up the mantle as well and start doing, hopefully we'll see more and more colon hydrotherapists like yourself, and see more and more people going to that, and just have it be this thriving part, like you said, the missing puzzle piece, so that everyone can experience more and more health. Someone in the chat said, yeah, fire your doctor. I agree. At the very least, add in a team like, acupuncture and colon hydrotherapy and whatever else you can to really find your own wellness.
Right.
Well, I know it's linked right below no matter where people are watching or listening, but tell people where to find your site and anything else you might want to share with them about how to connect with you.
Sure. Restorative Colonics. So that is my site, and I'm in Colorado Springs, and I'm off of North Carefree and Academy. I have a clinic there, a nice clinic, nice setting, natural lighting, and I answer questions for people on the phone. Texting is the best way to reach me. I often lose calls, so if you can at least tag me down on texting, that is ideal. And when people come in for the first time, explain everything, answer questions. I'm happy to talk to people on the phone. If you want to have questions, or you want to share what you're going through, you want to see if colonics would be beneficial for you.
It's perfect. I love it. And what are your final words or thoughts that you want to leave people with?
This is a joyful process. This is exciting. This is change. And the body's amazing. I mean, we're talking mental, emotionally, spiritually, if you want to go there. But this is life-changing. It should be joyful. I'm all about like empowering people. And sometimes we slip, and it's not about beating ourselves up. It's just we get back up, and everybody's going to fall back. Like, I'll have a client come in and say, oh, I did really bad this week. And it's not about beating yourself up. It's like, how did that feel? It didn't feel good? Well, it's okay. It's okay. We learned from it. You're really getting it now that it doesn't feel good to eat this way. And it's just about being kind. It's about loving yourself. Just get back up there, and it takes time to make changes. It takes time to have addictive tendencies come out of the body. Like when we're starving candida, there's major sugar craving. I describe it as walking through the forest of craving. All these little gremlins telling you can't live without this sugar, but you'll pass through it. So you got to be kind to yourself. So this is about self-love, and
Yes.
that I would leave people with. Yeah.
That's absolutely well said. And fellow travelers of the path, it is a beautiful thing. This has been your analog electric concentric dose of wisdom, according to the mother to many and the wellness creator, Valerie Ingalls. Valerie, thank you so much for sharing with us tonight and for everything that you do.
Thank you.
Well, isn't it so often true that we find our brightest light while wading through the darkest, dankest pits of our own excrement? It is true on the highest and the lowest levels, as everything reflects everything. If you casually took it in without concern for your own well-being and thought it couldn't hurt, all you really did was push it off for another day, week, month, year, or even lifetime. It is true for food, sounds, sights, experiences, and energies of every level. And every moment you spend in intention brings you lighter and farther, and every moment you spend in disconnection brings you more you eventually have to sift through. So get started. Start sifting, start releasing, start uplifting, and float higher and higher until you are made of only pure light, and until you are like the feather. Travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first.
Yo, yo, you're lying, he's lying, and she's lying. My man over there, he's lying. You know what? You're building up a bunch of lies. Straight lies. You don't know Willie Brown. I don't believe you. You're gonna build a wall. I don't believe you. You smash corn pop. I don't believe you. You don't touch kids. I don't believe you. Tupac's your favorite rapper. I don't believe you. You're helping immigrants. I don't believe you. Unemployment's low. I don't believe you. You're gonna fix the climate. I don't believe you. You carry hot sauce. I don't believe you. You pulling troops out. I don't believe you. America is great again. I don't believe you. You don't take cash from China. I don't believe you. You pay taxes. I don't believe you. You care about us. I don't believe you. There's a virus. I don't believe you. You need to wear a mask. I don't believe you. Here's a stimulus. I don't believe you. You're gonna impeach someone. I don't believe you. Heads are gonna roll now. I don't believe you. We're gonna flatten curves. I don't believe you. You're helping black people. I don't believe you. Voting matters. I don't believe you. You never took that flight. I don't believe you. We're all in this together. I don't believe you. You don't have dementia. I don't believe you. You make the best deals. I don't believe you. You're gonna solve the problem. I don't believe you. You're gonna drain the swamp. I don't believe you. We're training space soldiers. I don't believe you. You're friends with Mexicans. I don't believe you. You're different this time. I don't believe you. We're fixing infrastructure. I don't believe you. You'll get free college. I don't believe you. Your hands are huge. I don't believe you. Erasing student debt. I don't believe you. You're not establishment. I don't believe you. You don't have Kuru. I don't believe you. You have nice friends. I don't believe you. You won't bomb anyone. I don't believe you. We don't spy on people. I don't believe you. There's a tax credit. I don't believe you. You're a Christian. I don't believe you. You'll fix the deficit. I don't believe you. The other side's the problem. I don't believe you. You got transparency. I don't believe you. You're not a puppet. I don't believe you. You don't know a Rothschild. I don't believe you. Safe and effective. I don't believe you. I'll circle back to that. I don't believe you. It's a pandemic. I don't believe you. We care about your health. I don't believe you. They're killing grandmas. I don't believe you. Birthing person. I don't believe you. We'll investigate. I don't believe you. You don't know that guy. I don't believe you. You trust the science. I don't believe you. You want us all in shackles. We're training space soldiers. You're friends with Mexicans. God damn it.